you a New Yorker? Are you born there, bred there?
No, I'm from North Carolina, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Did you ever think of going to the North Carolina School of the Arts?
No, I don't know if I didn't apply there, but that's that I have been there before for like I went to like a ballet thing audition there when I was younger. But
Yeah.
but it's supposed to be a really good film school. I
Yeah,
hear.
yeah. There's a number
Yeah.
of people that like come out of there, like David Gordon Green and
Yeah.
I forget his name. Uh, God,
Yeah.
those. Anyway, there's this group of guys that all came out of there. Oh, the
Mm,
guy who just the movie The Bike Rider, Jeff Nichols, really good
okay.
filmmaker. Did the Bike Riders that's coming out soon with Austin Butler and Tom
Oh,
Hardy.
okay.
And
Oh, amazing.
our dean at AFI was came from North Carolina School of the Arts as the dean there. So
Oh, amazing.
yeah.
Awesome. Yeah.
So wait, you said ballet. I
Yes.
did I did notice there's ballet in your background. What is that background? Was that your first like was that your entree into the arts?
Yeah, kind of what I mean, yeah, I've always been a creative person. Like I did music, like I did violin as a kid and then I kind of like abandoned that and then did like I was like, okay, I'm gonna commit to ballet. So I that was sort of my thing for like a solid like 10. I mean, you're like a kid when you do ballet, but like from like 10 to 14, it was like taking this seriously. You're gonna be a professional, like really intense training, whatever. And so yeah, that was sort of my intro to the arts. But I think
So you
I
didn't
think
drop that one though because you did were aren't don't you still do it or you were doing it in
I,
college?
I like, yeah, I did like ballet club. I like
Yeah.
would teach here and there. Some of it remained, but like not regularly, no,
At what
fortunately.
point do you give up on the I'm gonna be a professional ballerina?
I think it was like when I was 14 and they're like, "Oh, you got to go in like 5 days a week. You got to like train." Like I was like, I'm tired. Like I need a life. Like I'm going to high school. I need to make some friends. Like so
My feet are starting to look weird. Yeah.
maybe some like I can't walk anymore. Like
Right.
so
I don't want to start smoking cigarettes and yeah.
the Black Swan.
That's exactly what I was thinking was Black Swan. How realistic is that?
Oh man, I cannot say for sure, but I hear it's exaggerated. I was never a professional, but I've met people who are. But I
Yeah.
hear that it's not it, it's an exaggeration. It's art. It's art.
Right.
So
Right.
what can
But
you
I feel like
say?
if any of the arts or athletics, which is that's a combination of them, I guess, you really have to like give up your whole life and commit to it at a
Yes,
young age if you want to be, one of the top people, a professional at it, right?
definitely.
And it's
Definitely.
hard to make that decision when you're a child.
Definitely, definitely. And I'm like in awe of people who stick with it and who do ballet and they become professionals. It's just like they've got to be really good, have the perfect body, have to like have the mental strength and the passion and the artistry to be like, yep, this is me, this is my career. I'm gonna do this. And yeah, so I really admire people who can do that.
I do
Yeah.
too, but then I also think like, are they damaged like at a young age? Were they like, because part of that
Oh yeah.
has to be parents, because they're the ones taking them to the
Mm,
practices and the sessions and all that kind of stuff. So they have to be on board with it, if not pushing it, right?
true. Yeah, true. My
Whereas
parents
if you want to be a filmmaker, it's just kind of like you wake up one day and you're like, I think I'm gonna try filmmaking.
be weird. I'm gonna be the weird kid. And
I'm
like
gonna be the weird kid. So tell me about that. When did you figure out you were the weird kid?
I mean it was all happening at the same time. So like was I don't know how old I think I was like 12 where, it was like the golden age of YouTube, in my opinion. It was like 2006 or so, where I was like, I'm gonna like make some stop motions and I'm just gonna post them on YouTube and just experiment with this medium. And um I was using American Girl dolls at the time, actually. So that was my like
Nice.
introduction into filmmaking. So got really into that, and obviously was what started watching like American Beauty and like Requiem for a Dream, and during my angsty
Nice.
kid phase, so I would be
Yeah.
making really angsty films like in black and white with like my American Girl dolls, and like would put like little teardrops on their eyes and see them like crying in the corner at the orphanage and like all this like
Also,
really
there'd be very dramatic, heavy storylines with these.
super heavy, yeah, super like yeah, it's kind of embarrassing, but yeah, but I took it very seriously with like the production design, the costumes and everything, so I did that
It takes
for
a
a
lot of,
bit.
that was my first thing, in filmmaking, but like I'm older, so I actually had like the Super 8 camera where you had to like push,
Cool.
one frame, but
Yeah,
it's all the same when you're doing stop motion and it requires a lot of patience.
totally,
So how,
yeah,
how were you capturing it? How were you shooting it?
just like on like a little camera, like one of those janky like
Oh,
point and
so it was
shoot.
just a series of photos then.
It was just photos, yeah, back
Ah,
then on like a before at first I didn't have a tripod, and then I leveled up and I'm gonna get a tripod, and then just started like building and building and Windows Movie Maker and
yeah.
strung everything together. It was super janky, but
But
like
that
I
but that first time when you put a sequence together and then you hit play and you see all those still photos, bring something to life. How does that feel?
it was like amazing. I was like, this is like I'm creating magic. Like I can make anything I want, like through my imagination. And I'm like, this is great. Like as a kid, like I was kind of shy. I didn't, it was sort of my way to create my own reality and make my own, yeah, it just gives you that freedom as a kid. And I think it's super liberating for a lot of
Yeah.
people.
You get to
Yeah.
express yourself. And what I love about it, of that version of it, is it's the only version of filmmaking, right? With the exception of animation, where you don't need anyone else, right?
Totally. Yes.
Every now, once you start being a professional and making live action films, you need actors, you need other people helping you. But that you can do all by yourself and kind of like fail and experiment, and if you're shy, express yourself, but not show it to anybody.
Mm-hmm. That's so true. Yeah, I would like play with the camera angles and like the close-ups and stuff. And I think, I mean, we can talk about this later, but like just that was like a huge like learning curve for me. It's like when I actually went to film school and I'm like, shoot, I have to like, work with people and I have to get them to listen to me and I have to like have a commanding presence, and that was like, oh my god, like this isn't like I'm painting, this isn't like that kind of art form. This is like you have to command a huge group of people, so yeah, that was
Yeah,
like
I
a
know
huge.
it's really not built for the shy people, even though there are shy directors. You just have to trust the people you're around and I guess whisper to them something.
Yeah.
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 Or you
Yeah.
get more, I don't know if you ever get comfortable with it, or you just fake it when you're on set and fake it till you make it. And then when you're off set, you just like hide in a shell and cry.
Oh my god. It's like too much social activity. I'm gonna go
Yeah.
over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I am. I like people, always think I'm very, very social, but that's because they see me in a social setting. But then I always need that recharge, that balance time. Right.
Totally.
Are you the,
Yeah.
are you the same?
Totally, yeah. I mean, like, I think like because I'm by trade, like I do branded content producing, so I'm always on set. I'm always, if I'm not on set, I'm in the office collaborating with my team. So it's like a lot of meetings, and I consider myself an extrovert. Like, I'm pretty social, but even me, I'm like, oh my gosh, okay, like this is great. That was super fulfilling, great talk, great brainstorm, but like I need to like step away for a second.
Yeah. Yeah. You really do have to protect yourself, as that
Yeah.
becomes bigger and more people are just taking, little bits of energy out of your soul.
Out of your
Sounds so dark. So wait, so you're making
no.
these things, these very personal things with your dolls, and you're shy, but you were putting them on YouTube, which is a worldwide audience.
Yes, yes, yeah. And I was finding like a group, like there were people that like of people like my age, like little kids who were watching them and they're like, wow, this is amazing. Like, and really encouraging me and supporting me. And I think honestly, that's what kept me going because I started with like really simple stuff. And they were like, oh, wow, that was so cool. I've never seen this before. And this was a time when you didn't really see stuff like that yet. It was like when YouTube was such a like the Wild West. It's kind of like what TikTok ended up becoming. So I was kind of paving my place in the, I don't know, the market, I guess, back then.
Yeah.
I didn't get
Yeah.
that many followers, subscribe, like 1,000 or so. But for me, I was like, I'm famous. Like I was like really getting a high off of it. And people were like, that was so moving. I cried from your doll film. And I'm like,
Oh, well,
what?
that had to
Like,
feel
I
amazing,
was like,
right?
what?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it
That
was
something
really
like that. Yeah, like you said, like that gets you hooked on doing it, right?
totally, yeah. You get that like, yeah, of the reactions from people for sure.
So then you put out more like that. You're trying to
Mhm.
replicate your success with the
Elevating. It's like, okay, guys, this one's gonna be even cooler, and yeah, just keep
adding
moving
more
up.
dolls to it. Production values
More
getting
dolls.
bigger. Yeah. Sequels, reboots.
Yeah, yes, yeah, yes.
And so then when was your first time stepping out of the, directing dolls and directing the other human form of puppets called actors?
So, I mean, it was like started with just friends, like, hey guys, we're gonna make a horror film, and then like they were like, I don't really feel like doing this. They didn't really have the patience for it. I did like honestly, I'm not gonna lie, the film that I sent to NYU Film School was one of these stop motion films.
Wow.
And that's what got me in, which is kind of wild. I made it when I was like 14 years old, and that's what I submitted. And I
What, so
got
like
in.
4 years later, you sent that and
Yeah.
that's what got you in? That's amazing. I mean, it shows the power of that, of the film.
Yeah. Yeah. It was I was like, wait, what? Like, I mean, I was making, yeah, I wasn't really working with humans yet at all. And I was like, I always knew that I loved film. I was like, I want to be a filmmaker. Like when I was applying for colleges, I was like, I could do psychology, but I really want to study film. And I was like thinking about places to apply to. And I was like, okay, there's local schools in North Carolina. Like, okay, I'll apply there. But and it was getting to be the last minute. I'm like, okay, but where do I really want to go? If I want to apply to like the best schools, I might as well just go for it and apply to like USC and NYU. And I was like late to
You
apply to
didn't
US.
mention AFI in that list, just saying. But go ahead. No, I'm kidding. Has nothing to do with this podcast has nothing to do with AFI. Yeah.
Should have considered that one as well. I was
I mean, we
young.
are the number one film school the last
It
three or four
literally
years.
is. So
Anyway,
I
yeah.
apologize for my naivete at the time.
You've done all
But
right for yourself. Yeah.
that's funny. But yeah, so I was too late to apply to USC, and then I just applied to NYU, and I wrote an essay and submitted the film, and then yeah, and then I got in, and I'm like, oh,
Amazing.
what? And I was like not expecting that, and everyone was like, what? Like you got in? Like my parents were like shocked. And I was like, I'm kind of scared. Like I don't know. Like I don't know what I'm getting myself into. I'm like I don't know anything about New York. Like I've been there like once in my life. Like, and everyone's like, you got to go, Victoria. Like you have to just do it. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, that's right. That's two major things happening at the same time, right? Which is like going to college, to film school, which is scary enough, and then doing it in
Yeah.
New York City,
Yeah.
like
Yes.
the scariest town in all of, the United States. Not scary, but like intimidating, right?
Insanely, yeah. And then like an entirely new pool of people who really were making film. I mean, I'm not to take away from my beautiful films, but like, people who really had a lot of confidence and really acted like they knew what they were doing, and a lot of big egos and people from all over the world, like a lot of international students. And I was just like, it was a lot at first,
Yeah.
but
Well,
yeah,
first, how did your parents feel about you wanting to go to film school and then getting in?
they were really supportive.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I was lucky enough. I mean, we took out loans, but it was like a strat. Like they paid for part of it, and the rest we took out loans. But like it wasn't like, oh, we can afford, like my mom's a doctor. So there's that, but like there's a lot of students that go to film school, go to NYU, who are like really, really rich, really, really
Yeah.
had that much money. But my parents were kind of like, well, like this is what you want to do. This is your dream. Like I totally support that. So
That's great.
I'm really grateful that I had that. My mom's a doctor, but she majored in classical guitar in college. So she
Ah,
kind of has that art, you know, that creative background. And my dad's like, he writes novels and stuff. So they kind of have that creative spirit. So I
okay.
feel really grateful that they, you know, supported.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they got it. Also, they knew you were making these little videos. They should have known back in the day.
I should have known it was bad.
They should have
I think they were
known.
so glad though. They're like, oh, thank God she's not making the doll films anymore. Like please no more. Like it's
Yeah.
too
And,
weird.
well, and to go
So
to one of the
done.
top schools, they must have been like, okay, if you're gonna go, like, do it right. Go to NYU. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right. So you kind of touched on it, but talk about those like first days and weeks there and being around all those people that, we talk about it a lot at the school I'm at, which is imposter syndrome, right?
Yeah.
What you said was there were a lot of people that were there that were very, confident, but
Mm-hmm.
who knows if that was real confidence or not.
Totally. Yeah.
Where were you at? Where was your head at? How did you interact in those
Yeah.
first days?
I think I had a lot of like inner confidence because I knew like I knew about films. I was always watching like the Oscars and seeing all the new films that were coming out and old films, silent films, like, you know, just really knowledgeable. And I had a very clear idea of like the styles that I liked. So I felt confident internally. But when I went to go talk about it with people, I felt like I felt like my confidence would drain when like my taste didn't necessarily match up with their taste. And I'm like, oh, I really like Terrence Malick films. And then people would be like, oh, like that's like pretentious or like, oh, his films suck. And I'm like, oh, really? And I'm like, okay. And like, but he's a good film, you know, like he's known for being a really good
Yeah.
filmmaker,
Yeah. He's like a
director,
legend. Yeah.
literally a legend. But these guys were like, you know, laughing at me. And I don't know. I let it get to me in certain I mean, I don't think it affected the work I made, but it was a big I think like when it came to like things that are traditionally more like I don't want to say like masculine, I don't know.
Was
Like
it was it
holding a camera,
heavily? What was the balance with men and women there?
mainly guys. I would say
Really?
yeah, at least in the first classes that like the first class I took, yeah. And we broke up into groups, and we were all supposed to like work on each other's films. We were all supposed to like shoot each other's films. And I remember, I probably wasn't acting confident because I wasn't confident. It was, but with the camera we were using, we were supposed to take turns filming each other's films. And then when it became my turn, they're like, I don't think you're confident enough. Like, I don't want you to shoot my film. And
Oh
I was
my
like,
God.
okay.
One of the guys said that to you?
Yeah. And they're like, they were just not, they were kind of mean. And I'm like, okay. And then I'm like, well, can you guys help me with my film? Like, I need to go out to this pier and like shoot this film with this dancer, whatever. And they're like, I don't really have time. So
Oh my.
I went with the camera by myself and just shot it by myself. And I remember I shot, but it was, but it, you know, it didn't get to me though, because one
Yeah.
of the first films I made in that class, like, it was like these are all silent film, black and white, you know, like practicing close up, and, you know, all the
Yeah. Exercises. Yeah.
introductory class stuff. And like the film that I made was about a guy whose dad was a firefighter during 9/11, and he's looking up at the Freedom Tower and like he's reminiscing, and it's like and then his girlfriend is there, and you know it's like a very sentimental kind of uh film. And remember when I was making it, they were just like, oh, this is so corny, like whatever. And I'm like, okay. And then I showed it, and then the teaching assistant was like, wow, well, that was one of the best films that I've seen coming out of this class. And I'm like, ha.
Did you turn into
Hey.
those guys and you're like, did you hear that? Say that for the
Yeah.
back of the room. Yeah.
Internally, it was a good feeling. And I think like little moments like that, where I was actually doing well in the classes, and
Yeah.
like I was like, okay, like these guys are just being
Yeah. I feel like you at a certain point you have to the people that succeed, that do well, that navigate it well, they figure out that at a certain point, stop trying to impress the other students you know, and
Yeah.
if you're going to try to impress someone, try to impress the faculty, you know,
Yeah.
but ultimately you should really just be trying to like, you know, impress yourself, which is, that's
Yeah.
hard to get to that point. But
Hmm.
like so many, you know, film students, it becomes, I don't know if it's inherent, you know, it becomes competitive, but you want to, your taste change, the influences you talk about, they change because you're trying to impress the other students in your class. Or if, I don't know if
Totally.
that's human nature. I don't know. What do you think?
I agree. I agree. And I think like that, in addition to just having to reconstruct my idea of my creative style and kind of going back to basics and like really having to overanalyze how to make a film properly really made me question everything. I mean, but that's part of the process. It's like, let me like figure out how
Yeah.
to do it right. And then you can, once you know the rules, then you can bend the rules. But
Yeah.
um, I think, yeah, that in addition to just the students, but I think like after that, I think that was probably one of the worst part of the experience. And then the rest of film school wasn't that
Yeah.
bad, but I'll always remember that first class with those guys.
Yeah. Those kind of memories are just get burned
Oh
into your
yeah.
brain. Yeah. So
Totally.
what is something that, you know, what are some things that you had no idea, or the, you know, some of the light bulb moments in film school about the craft of
Oh man.
filmmaking? And when we talk about like your intention was directing, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hmm.
But this is undergrad film school where you kind of do a little of everything.
Yeah. Yeah. Gosh, light bulb moments. I think I think like you kind of learn the things that you like and the things that you're good at. I remember I took a class on, it was like a TV studio class where you were supposed to basically direct this 3 camera setup in like 2 hours and hire actors and basically set up the scene in a very short amount of time and think really quickly on your feet and go to from camera A to camera B to all these things. And um
Oh, you're calling the cameras like
yeah, like
live
live with
directing?
like live cutting.
Oh, wow, that's hard.
It was
Yeah.
cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
but I remember I did it and I did really well because like I how I kind of thrived in that like fast-paced like setting of like, okay, we're all together and like you do this and he's here and here's that. And like you realize like, okay, how good a well-oiled machine performs where everyone's like positive and everyone's supportive and everyone's like down to help and like focused and like how rewarding that feeling is. And
Yeah.
that's sort of the feeling that I still chase to this day of like, okay, that moment. And I yeah, and then the rest of it, like, I mean, obviously the technical, you know, you do all the different classes, screenwriting, acting, film, you know, safety protocol, all of that.
Editing. Do you learn editing?
Editing. Oh my God, I learned a lot from that. Was a moment where I was like, oh my God, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, this is
But
the
I
technical
always tell like
side.
young people that like, you know, say, "Oh, I'm interested in filmmaking," and they haven't done much yet. I always say, just edit, like practice editing, study
Yeah.
editing, because that's what you'll learn about writing. You'll learn about performance. It's built in the editing
Hmm.
room, staging, you know,
Hmm.
pacing. Everything is in editing, right?
Yeah, totally. I just remember feeling very intimidated. And still, I mean, I'm not an editor, which is why I didn't become an editor, but like how by using Avid and learning like all of the steps to set up a project and like transcoding and the export, I was like, oh
Oh
my
yeah,
God,
all that stuff's the worst.
over
Yeah,
my head.
that's not for the creative mind. Yeah,
And that's why I was like, well, I'm just used to my like Windows, you know, like my really simple programs where it's so much easier to get to just the creative quicker.
yeah,
And
yeah,
it's like, oh, I have to learn all this stuff first in order for me to like get to that creative process. And I'm like, that was a lot of, and then also intimidation. And then my nerves, obviously, if there's like somebody teaching me, like, okay, first you do
oh,
this, this, and this, and this. Okay, now your turn, you do it. And I'm like,
that is the
whoa.
worst. Yeah, yeah,
Always
and you
screwing it
know,
up. And they're like, you're stupid. I mean, they don't say that I'm stupid, but I feel like they're saying that.
oh yeah,
Like
you
in
feel that.
their eyes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, also with things like that, honestly, like, you know, when you start playing with those things, you learn your way of doing it, you know, and
Yeah.
they're teaching you their way, and then you kind of have to find your own way, right? But then
Really.
they're over your shoulder, and you're not doing it the way they do it, and so you're doing it
Yeah.
wrong, right?
Right. Yeah. That's the thing about film school.
But I assume like over your career and through later years in film school, you worked with editors, yeah.
Yeah. My thesis film, I handed it off to somebody, and like I mean, ever since, I mean, I like would edit my own stuff sometimes if it was like simpler,
Yeah.
but if it like my thesis film that I made, I had someone edit it for me, and I'm like, okay, this guy, he's good at the. I mean, I'm decent, but like I'm like it is good to have another set of eyes take what you made and sort of,
Yeah.
not be
Well,
so
and you know,
everything.
I would correct you and say that person didn't edit it for you. They edited it with you, right?
True.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
because that is a it's a that's what, probably the most intense collaboration in filmmaking.
You
Um,
know, it's interesting that you say that because I feel like I didn't get fully comfortable doing that until recently with what I do now, working with editors, with the projects I do now. Because I think before I was so intimidated that I was like, okay, you're the editor. And I
yeah.
would kind of not, I would doubt my own instincts, and they'll be like, well, I think this is right. And I'm like, okay, you must be right. And
Even though in
I
your
wouldn't
mind you were like,
embrace, yeah, I wouldn't embrace that. I would doubt my own instincts, I suppose. But you're right.
yeah,
It is a really important creative, like collaborative it's like one of my favorite parts of the process is working with
yeah.
them.
And a lot of these things are about finding your person, right? Someone who
Totally, yeah.
makes it a safe, comfortable space for you to,
Yeah.
you won't be afraid to say anything, right? And people
Exactly.
that, if that's your personality, that are just willing to experiment and, let's try this, let's try that.
No, yeah. Love
Yeah.
that. I love that.
When did you get to that point when you became more comfortable in the editing room?
I think like I think so with what I do now, I mean, I think I went through a lot of different paths. What I do now as a producer, I work at Bloomberg and I do branded content producing, and I also direct a lot of the projects as well. And, I think it's like it's coming because I'm coming from a place of, I guess maybe it's because I know that this is my job and I'm getting paid to do this instead of like, oh, this is my independent project and I'm hiring someone, because
Yeah.
before it was like I was an independent filmmaker and I would crowdfund, and then I would find someone who's like a really good editor to edit my projects. And I think because of that, because I wasn't doing it so regularly, I took their word over mine because they were a full-time editor and that was like their craft, that was their career, whatever. Even though
Right.
I know that I have a great creative instinct or whatever, but I was doubting it for a really long time. So I say it wasn't until like maybe like 3 years ago, honestly, for me, that I was like, okay, like I feel empowered in this role. Like I chose you because I like you,
Yeah.
and I'm in charge, and we are going to work on this together. And at the end of the day, I'm going to have the final say, but we're, you know, but if you think my ideas suck, tell me, like
Right.
I'm going to say what I think. And I trust you, I respect you, and I hope that you respect me as well. Just it feels, if the more I do it, the easier it gets, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There is something about, like, when you're younger and you're doing things with your friends, and also when you're older and you're doing things with your friends, um, those lines, blur, and,
Yeah.
people don't necessarily take orders, but like when you're the boss and you're hiring people and you're paying them, it's
Mhm.
nice, right? They treat you different. They treat you like the boss.
Right. Exactly.
I know I love my friends, my filmmaker friends, but I always tell people, don't work with your friends.
Oh
Like,
my God, yes.
it never goes
I
well.
I know, especially if they're doing you a favor
Yeah.
sometimes. They're
And they will
like,
never stop reminding you they're doing you a favor.
I know. Like, I'm just gonna give you a little bit of this and then I gotta be somewhere. Bye. And I'm
Yeah.
like,
I mean, work
what?
with people that are you're friendly with, that you are friends in that environment. But yeah, the doing you a favor part. Very good.
Yeah. It's great and it's terrible at the same time.
Yeah. But
As
you
long
did.
as you repay that favor, is what I say. Because I have people that I like do that with, of like, hey, you work on my stuff, I work on your stuff. Like one of my really good friends is a DP, and like he shot so many of my projects, but and then I'll work on I'll produce his stuff, or I'll, just help out whatever he
Yeah.
needs. But yeah, it's good to branch out sometimes.
So what do you, when people, you're at a cocktail party and someone says, "Hey, Victoria, what do you do?" What's your answer?
I'm a branded content producer. So I work in at Bloomberg. I'm in their in-house creative studio. We work with people like Samsung, Wells Fargo, basically people that like want to put their advertising on Bloomberg's platforms as well as theirs to put the word out about whatever they want to say, basically. But a lot of it leans into like innovation, like technology, sustainability. But what I really like about it is that we're really trying to, I mean, the more the studio grows, like the when I started, it was a lot smaller and we were creating a lot more like talking head, like corporate videos. But the more we go, the more opportunities that are coming to make content that really feels like you're really telling a personal story about someone's
Yeah.
real life experience and things that feel like filmmaking, things that don't feel like advertising, but
No, but
isn't
that's like,
like still.
that
um
is what people are doing now. And I think
yeah,
that's what people want to, or are willing to absorb, right? Things
yeah.
that don't feel like advertising, and it's in there. Definitely. I'm looking at your General Motors sustainable journey here in the background.
Oh
And
yeah.
it's so cinematic. Like, you directed this too?
Yeah, I co-directed it with the cinematographer who's like I was producing and he was shooting and we were kind of collaborating on the directing. So he's great.
Yeah. And
Collab.
I was looking at the Samsung one, which is
Yeah.
also like really cinematic, but also slick, and it has like graphics, and there's like you're getting to like play with a lot of filmmaking tools within your job and get paid for it, which is cool.
I'm so grateful. And it's wonderful the longer I do it, because I have so much control. Like I'm just very grateful for the amount of autonomy I have over these projects of the budget, like who I hire, finding the right production companies, freelancers, filmmaker, me, and then meeting people. Like I just realize I'm learning my calling the more I do it of like, wow, I really, really love what I do because meeting people at a party and I'm like, I met a girl at like a whitewater rafting trip and she turned out to be an illustrator. And I was like, your work is amazing. And then I ended up hiring her for a project. So it's just like
I love
finding
that.
that network and finding people that are so good at what they do. And I'm like, okay, how can I use that person's talent to like
Yeah.
create
Th-
this, make this thing better,
yeah, they
So
inspire you. Like, you wouldn't have
yeah,
thought of the illustrator, but then you met one and you're like, okay, now how can I get this person into the next thing? Yeah. It's great.
yeah, it's
Uh,
super fun. Yeah.
it just sounds like
London.
you have a lot of autonomy. So I thought, and you're directing and producing these things, but it's
Yeah.
more than an office of just one. It's more than just you.
It's more than just me. And like when I work on my projects, like for like I'm always juggling like maybe four or five at the same
Really,
time.
in different stages of.
Yeah, in different stages of production. And I also do like pitching as well. But for each project, it'll be assigned like one writer, one designer, and one video person. So I'll be
Okay.
the only video person that's working on it. And then I report to the global head of video, basically.
So,
Yeah.
so a company like Samsung comes to Bloomberg and they say, we want to advertise on your platforms. And
Mm-hmm.
then, are you like an ad agency as well? Like, you come up with the creative
Mm-hmm.
with
Yeah.
them,
Yeah. We
and
come
you're
up
in
with
on that, you personally?
it depends on the project. Sometimes I'll come in later after it's been pitched and sold. But yes, it'll kind of go from like a broader idea and then we'll narrow it down and go from like a like an outline to a treatment,
Hmm.
and develop it. But usually I'll come in around the like outline stage and then help develop what are we going to make? How are we going to make it? And
Right.
depending on the project, depending on like
Can you use one of these as an example, like Samsung or
yeah,
anything
yeah,
else?
I'll use Samsung as an example. So Samsung, I came in kind of around the outline stage and worked with the team, worked with the writers, um to kind of, okay, like what's this story? Like what kind of story do we want to tell? What's the angle here? How do we make this like a Bloomberg angle while also making it personal and interesting? So we went through different rounds of like pulling potential quotes. We do a pre-interview with the people, the subjects, and then we pull quotes from there.
How did you
And then
find the subjects?
Oh, so those were given to us through Samsung. So
Oh,
they
okay.
basically, that was part of the pitch of like, these are Samsung Team Galaxy members.
Gotcha.
Here's some that you can use. Which ones do you want to use? I wasn't part of that process because I came in a little later, but yes, we chose it, we narrowed it down, and then yeah.
Right. So then after they're chosen, then they're handed over to you,
Mhm.
and then you start. I mean, this one feels kind of like, big because there's a lot of different people that you feature in their
Yeah.
environments, right? Right. So you're
Yeah.
like, that's a serious production, like schedule, like where are they? They're all over the United States.
Yeah, yeah. One of them was in LA, one of them was in San Jose, and then the other one is in Lynchburg, Virginia.
Hmm.
So it was kind of a process of working with a production company, connecting with producers out there, helping finding locations. LA was particularly difficult because I didn't realize how difficult permitting is.
Oh, it's
Like,
why there's no production in LA, in the
yeah,
heart of the film industry,
yeah,
because they make it so hard to shoot out here. It's
it
it's
was
ridiculous.
really crazy. And I was like, we need to shoot in Chinatown, like like for I don't know, like Maryland. It's like I go to China, like during her pre-interview, she's like, oh, I go to Chinatown, it really inspires me. And I'm like, we need to shoot there. It's like beautiful, like the lights, everything. Like this is the perfect visual. So it was insanely expensive. I don't need to say all the numbers, but
I'm
it
looking
was
at it right now, but yeah, it is
really
beautiful with all
expensive.
the lanterns and everything. Yeah, it's gorgeous. It's
Mhm. Yeah.
um so when you do these, you're doing everything by the book, you getting permits, you're not like just
Yeah.
running out. And what is it if I was driving by and I see your production, is it a big, like how big is your crew?
In terms of the people that flew out, it was me, the co-director, cinematographer, and the editor, writer, editor, creative lead. And we flew out and the rest were local. So when we were like on the go, like filming outside, it was sometimes it was just me and Jan, he's the DP, and the subject, and that was it. Like
Because
we
you're
just
just getting.
lob them and just
Oh, you
kind
do.
of
Okay, you have a
one and
sound person.
done.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if it was like in a, obviously if it's like a sit down interview, then it'll be more, we'll have more support, and we had
You'll light it.
field producer helping, which was helpful, but yeah,
Yeah.
it really depends on the
So there
situation.
so you're coordinating as the producer, you're coordinating everything, travel for the crew and securing
So
locations.
so we hire a production company to help with like the nitty-gritty details. So I'm more so like supervising those producers who then hire the other producers and then
Yeah.
handling them. I'm kind of more like client, okay, we got to make sure the client, because the client will be watching the interview over
So they'll be
Zoom.
with you.
So they weren't there in person, but they were like there on the listening in on the interview. So,
Gotcha.
and then also handling the talent, directing the talent, making sure that we're getting everything we needed creatively,
Yeah.
and kind of just supervising the on the
Well,
ground.
that's the classic like client, advertising company relationship, right?
Yeah,
It's their brand, so they have to be very protective of it.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to like be ready to be like, okay, guys, what's going on? Being in like film production mode, and then like very client facing, like everything's going great, welcome to the
That's
amazing.
specifically your role.
Yeah, sometimes, yeah.
Uh, so
Yes.
that so let's talk about yeah, you specifically. What are some of the big challenges? Is it that having to jump back and forth?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Yeah, just kind of keeping your composure, handling budget problems that come up, making sure that everything stays in line. Um, and timing wise, sometimes we work with CEOs who have very tight schedules and
Mm.
needs, and just kind of making sure that they're happy, and yeah, just
Oh,
a
so you're
lot of
working with like the CEOs of some of these brands? Wow,
yes.
that can be like
Uh,
pressure filled, right? Like,
yeah, you get
yeah.
kind of used to it. They're all very nice. They're all very nice, but obviously busy people. who've
Yeah,
got
exactly. I mean,
to go
yeah,
and things to do.
the
So
pressure
yeah,
of being efficient with their time. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
And
So
then you're also directing, you're co-directing, right? Sometimes
yeah, a
directing,
lot of the
directing.
times it depends on the project. Sometimes I'll just be more like producing, more like traditional agency producer, but then if it depends on the resources or like how much bandwidth or like how close I am to the creative, like I'll be really involved. I'll be like with the DP directing, I'll
Yeah.
be really boots on the ground, like
Yeah.
involved. Um,
And if you're directing, I mean, and then directing, whether you're directing or producing, are you very involved in the post production, the editing, and the talking to the
yes,
client in that stage? Yeah. So you see
yes,
it through to the end.
yes,
Okay.
yes, yes, very much so. So yeah, it'll be like once the production company hands it off, then it's sort of mine to the end, which is what I really love about it, is because I get to really, you know, have that perspective of like what we captured, knowing what we captured,
Yeah.
and then making those decisions of like what's the best footage to use. And yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's filmmaking, right? I mean, and
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
you get to
literally,
kind of own it, which is great.
it's great, and that's why I love it, is because there's so many roles in this, I mean, in film where, or I mean, yeah, I mean, it is film, it's advertising film. We're making films. It's just for
No,
advertising.
I mean, there is advertising, yeah, but what I'm looking at are films.
These are film.
And I mean, they're longer too. This one's 2 minutes.
Yeah.
This one's 3 minutes. Are you
Yeah.
making short versions that they put out in the world?
We
Like,
do. We do. We
yeah.
make like 30-second, 15-second. Okay, so like I came into Samsung, I think it was like September, and we were kind of in the like treatment stage, and then we shot it right before the holidays, and then we delivered it at like the end of February.
Okay, so it's like
So
that one's like 3, 4 months, maybe.
yeah.
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 Also, 725,000 views of something you made.
Yeah. I know.
You
It's kind
stepped
of
up
weird.
from
I'm like,
your
who are
stop
these
motion.
people? No, what?
You stepped up from your stop
I
motion days.
know. I know. It doesn't, yeah.
All right, so wait, but first of all, I just want to say, like, you have a very cool job, right? This is cool because to get to kind of like have job security in the world of filmmaking, it doesn't exist. As you know, it's a very freelance. You work on a project and then you're searching for work for the next 6 months, and then if you're a working director, you make one movie every few years, right?
Yeah.
So you get to
Yeah.
do this all the time, which is great. And you're getting like reps and you're just becoming better and better. So congrats on that. This is like the dream job. I think most
Thank you.
graduates I know would love, but I want to connect it to film school because I want to know how you got from NYU to here. So when do you
Sure.
graduate? What year?
2016.
2016. Okay. Okay.
Yep.
So there's a lot of years. And you've been at Bloomberg how long?
Like 2.5 years.
Okay. So you got
Well,
about 6 years to fill in. What do you do? What are those? You graduate from film school, and my experience with people I know is like you have no structure to your life, and you're like, what do I do? How do I start this?
yes.
You look
Oh
at your
my
head, you're
God.
like, yes.
Literally, it was great. Yeah. I was like, I did not know. Well, first of all, I worked my ass off in film school. Like not only just in school, I had like 5 different internships. Like I was at like SNL, like Fox Searchlight, like I was really like
Oh,
hustling, you
good for
know.
you. Were
But
any of
then
those like really impactful for your first jobs, or making
um
connections?
yeah, yeah. I mean, I learned so much from every single one. I was at like a documentary production company. SNL was obviously amazing.
That's so cool, by the way,
It
that
was so cool.
I
I
didn't know
got
they
to,
took interns. That's awesome.
oh yeah, yeah. I mean, I was a post-production intern, so I was like in the control room like once a week, but like
Oh,
that was, I mean, yeah, and
so
the
you got
writers
to see
were
the
right
the
next
live
to
the
me.
live camera calling, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Live
yeah.
directing. Yeah.
Yeah, it was wild, and like I got to meet the director, Don Roy King. I believe he just retired either last year or he recently, but
Oh, he was there forever, right?
he was there for so long. The nicest person in the world. Like just very, very grateful to have met him. And he wrote me, I didn't even, I mainly just met him on a whim. I was like working, burning DVDs for his daughter's like audition videos um, for college because she wanted to be an actress, and met him casually. And then I found a way. I actually ended up reaching out to him through LinkedIn. I think this is the time when you can like reach out to people on LinkedIn for find their emails on LinkedIn and like
Oh,
export
wow.
a sheet of all their emails. I don't think you could do this anymore, but that back
No.
then you could. And when I
Yeah.
was trying to crowdfund for my thesis film, I ended up um his email was on the list, and I was like, hey, please request for my Kickstarter. And he gave me like $500. And I was
That's
like, okay,
huge. Wow.
he gave me money. And then I was like, okay, I'm gonna email him and be like, thank you so much. And then I was like, I would love to grab a coffee to just ask you about your job, and we got lunch, and it was really, really, really nice. And um yeah. I mean, I don't really actively keep it. And then he wrote me a recommendation letter, which helped me get jobs after I graduated. So it was really, really,
I love hearing that because I love that those people do exist in the film industry. Yeah.
yeah, totally. Yeah. And I think like the moments like that where you meet these people who are so kind and and it's usually the people who are the most successful in a lot of times that
Yeah.
who are the kindest and most generous. And I that was definitely the case with him. And
I would agree. But I also believe that good people attract good people. Right.
mhm.
So I don't know you, but
Well,
I sense that you are a good, positive person. Yeah.
thank you. I mean, I think that definitely helped just being genuine and being kind, and that will always help in the end. Like it's not
Yeah.
about ego. Just be generous and treat people with respect and treat people well, and it will get you really far.
It can definitely never hurt. It will never hurt. So just do
Exactly.
it because it can only
Just
help
do
or
it.
just,
Like,
or you'll just be neutral, but it won't hurt.
and if somebody is like a PA or like an intern and you're an asshole to them, and like who knows, in 10 years they could be your boss. You never know. You don't
Yeah.
know what's gonna
It's
happen.
very
So
small. It's
like
a small
be
business.
careful
Yeah. Yeah.
how you treat people. Yeah.
All right. So you were hustling. You were doing all the internships, people helping you out. SNL. I've got
Mhm.
a million. We'll do another one of these. Just talk about SNL because I'm obsessed.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
wait. So
So I
what is the key? What it sounds like you were good at being an intern and people liked you and they want to help you after. What do you think was the key to being a good intern?
oh um I I think just being hardworking and excited and asking questions, and yeah.
Asking questions without being
Hard
annoying.
worker, just
Yeah.
being a hard worker and being eager and showing that you're passionate and
Yeah.
um curious. That always goes a really long way. So
Yeah.
yeah. Attention to detail, doing it well, not
My God.
forgetting.
Yes. That is such a big deal. Yeah.
Well, yeah, like
Yeah.
it's because a lot of I mean, I feel like a lot of internships are just really menial. You're just doing really menial tasks. Like I think I did one where I was just, I think I, I think it was like transcribing things or something, and like at this documentary production company, and like writing descriptions for footage, just over and over and over again, very repetitive tasks. But I was but I think it showed that I was curious and interested because I would see everyone working, and the producers and everyone brainstorming, and I was just excited to be there. Like even though I was doing this really mundane task, like I think people could tell that I was excited, and I think that helped. Like when people see someone that kind of wants to be you, like
Yeah.
somebody that's young and is like, oh, I want to follow in your footsteps, then people really respond well to that.
They do.
So
Yeah. But
yeah.
I love that you mentioned attention to detail and like
Mm.
menial tasks might feel menial, but there's a reason you're doing them. Somebody needs it done. And, it's how you do one thing is how you do everything. And,
Yeah.
you know, more and more, I feel like the younger generation, they feel like they should already be the boss, you know, and
Mm,
they want to just dismiss those tasks, and they
uh,
don't take it seriously, and
mhm.
that doesn't bode well. But that's good advice for being an intern.
Yeah.
Okay, so you graduate, you leave, you're done with film school, and you're out there floating in nothingness. What's the first thing you do? What's the first gig you get?
Yeah, my first gig, I was I was James Spader's assistant on The Blacklist.
That's so, that's so, I was not expecting that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
How does that happen?
I I was on like a Facebook crew call thing. I just applied to. It was like PA, it was like a PA Facebook group, people looking for PAs, and I applied and I got it.
Which says something because it means that you weren't below being a PA, right?
The only job I could get. So I was like, yeah,
Right.
gotta survive, gotta pay the bills. I mean, no one would, I mean, I was on my own after I graduated. I got an apartment in Soho with roommate with people from school. I was paying like probably more than I could afford because I wanted to be like with my friends or whatever.
Yeah. Well, it's New York
And I was
City
like,
too. It's
"Shit,
already
I
more
need
than
to
anyone can afford.
pay."
Yeah.
Oh, actually, no, this is before I got that apartment. But anyways, still, I wanted to find a way to stay in the city
Yeah.
because I'm like, if I leave and move back home, I don't know if I'm gonna keep my momentum. Like, I feel like I already came so far. I worked so hard. I can't. My parents were like, "Come back home, stay with us for a little bit," and I'm like, I can't. I can't. So I was crashing on my friend's couch, trying to find a job, and once I
Yeah.
had a job, I got an apartment. So yeah.
Was the job advertised as James Spader's assistant? There's no
No.
way. There's no way.
No.
It was just a PA
No.
job.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if it said it was for the blacklist or not. It might have said it was for the blacklist, but it didn't
Okay.
say it was for James Spader. Yeah.
So you must have stories, huh?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I assume there are NDAs signed and you can't talk about it. But how long did you work
Yeah.
in that role?
I so I was his assistant for like 3 days, and then I became an additional production assistant for reasons. I was not qualified for that job. It was basically a second AD role. It was very
Oh,
involved. I don't know why
the
they
second
hired
AD role
me.
for the star of the show.
Yeah, it was like arguably the most important job on set. I
Yeah.
was not
They just threw you into it.
qualified. I didn't even know that you were supposed to stand up all day. I was like sitting. I was like, okay, I'm tired. I'm gonna sit. Everyone's like, Victoria, like, what are you doing? I was like, I
You
don't
would get
know.
yelled at for sitting?
Yeah.
There's
Is
so
that
much downtime
abnormal?
on set. What are you supposed to do? Just you got to be ready to go in case Spader needs you.
It's the blacklist, man.
It's the
They don't mess around.
they don't, yeah. Sorry, I forgot. It's the blacklist. Um, and that was deep into the run, right? So it's like,
Yeah, I think it was like season 5 or something. So everyone that worked on that was had a lot of them had been there for a really long time. It was like a very well-oiled machine. So like if one thing was off,
yeah,
people noted. If anything was a little, and
right.
yeah.
And you're coming in fresh. You don't know anyone.
I didn't know anything about like walkie-talkie lingo.
Oh,
Like I
you
was
didn't know the etiquette, the lingo.
No, I
You
didn't know
didn't
you're
get that
supposed
on your
to
thesis?
copy that. No, we
I'm
didn't
I'm
have
10-1, I'm
I
10-2, I'm all
wasn't
that.
on walkie 10 what I might have known that one, but yeah, the I was so clueless. It was really bad, and everyone loved it. It's like, oh, NYU girl doesn't know what she's doing. Like,
Oh, that must have been tough. And then, I mean, it's
yeah.
got to be intimidating to be around a James Spader, right?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't around him that much. I'm not gonna lie. We didn't really interact much. I just kind of followed him a lot.
Okay.
But
Okay.
yeah, yeah. It would have been nice to talk to him more, but I didn't really have that much of a chance to. But yeah.
But they didn't get rid of you. They just moved you to a different position.
They just moved me because they still liked me. They're still like, hey, look, Victoria, like you're great, but we're gonna have you learn in this other role. So I became an additional PA, working like lockups and all that stuff. But
Yeah.
I did that for several months. I realized very quickly that it was not what I wanted. Of like, I don't really want to be an AD, I don't like, this
Right.
is great experience, but I think I learned as much as I could. So after that, so luckily during my NYU training, NYU safety training class, the guy that runs that has connections with Local 52, who does like props and set dressing and like G&E. So I wanted to I was able to get on the list to get hired for props and set dressing jobs. So I ended up moving to that, quitting the PA job and doing like, I did like Orange is the New Black, like Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt.
Wow.
I was on Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt for like a month doing props.
Very
And
cool.
that was like an amazing experience because when I saw Tina Fey, like the way that she interacted with people,
The
so
way
joyous.
she set a tone, I assume.
Definitely, yeah. Like, and it's interesting. I noticed, like, and I worked on a bunch of different scripted TV shows. It's not necessarily the people. I feel like sometimes it's just the tone of the project can affect the tone of the set. So, like, Blacklist is really serious and like, like I don't know, really
Yeah.
intense show. So everyone's really intense on set, and then Unbreakable Schmidt is just silly and fun. Everyone's just like having fun. Everyone's just like joking around. Everyone's like really laid
It's
back.
and somehow you feel it. Like you watch that
You
show and
feel
you
it.
feel that like they are actually having fun. It's so silly.
And
Yeah.
we were. Everyone was
Yeah.
having so much fun. Everyone was so nice. And yeah, so that kind of like got me excited again of like, okay, like this is
It,
great. Tina
right.
Fey's the best. I remember like I was gonna set out a chair for her, like props just to set out the chairs. And then she was like, don't worry, I don't need a chair. I can just stand, whatever. And I was like, that was like such a moment for me. I'm like, Tina Fey doesn't need a chair. Like it was just such a, I don't know. You just felt
No,
how
I
humble
know what you
she
mean.
was, you know?
Yeah. And
Yeah.
it I don't know. I don't know her at all, but like it feels like she just would make it feel she would take away that like I'm a star or I'm the boss, right? I'm just a
You
regular
really,
person.
you really felt that. Yeah. She was very collaborative and it was really cool to watch her. And that was very inspiring for me to be like, okay, I'm going to be her. Like,
I
I
love
want to
that.
be, that's what I want. So we'll
Nice.
never forget.
Yeah. I mean, if you're gonna have a role model, Tina Fey. Yes.
Literally, like,
Okay, so
she was
that's
great.
1 month. We have a lot of years to fill in here. That's 1 month. So you're kind of
Oh,
doing that
yeah.
freelance thing and
Sorry.
jumping around.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
But now you're in props.
I was in props. Then I was like, I don't think I can do props because I'm not into the whole manual labor thing. I don't really want to carry a box
You like to
cutter.
sit down. Yeah. That's what I heard. Spader said you like to sit. Yeah.
Literally. So true. That's funny. Yeah. So I I was like, I don't think I can be a set dresser. That's like I love production design, but I don't think I can compete with these really strong guys lifting things for jobs. Like there's no way.
Right.
So then through a friend, I had a friend whose brother was an assistant editor on a bunch of TV shows, and she introduced me to him and he recommended me for a job. And then I got post PA job on a show called The Sinner with Jessica Biel on USA. And that was amazing. I really love that experience because you learn in post so much about the creative process.
Yeah.
I worked with that post producer for, I think, 4 seasons of 4 different shows. And really, really learned a lot from that post producer's just leadership, ability to, work with people under stress, work with showrunners who are just exhausted and like,
Yeah.
creatively drained, but just need someone to say like, it's going to be okay. Like, and offer ideas and just power through. It was amazing.
Well, those are
So
real, like talk about, you have your thesis film is due whatever date. Yeah, sure. I'll be a couple days late with that. Those are real deadlines when you're dealing with delivering television shows.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Intense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
really a lot at stake. So that was wonderful. And then I ended up moving to post-production coordinating. I took a break because I wanted to work on this passion project that I had about ballet dancers. Uh,
What was it? A doc or a
so it was basically a short film. I wanted to make a film, kind of just like a dance film, short dance film, with two women dancing together in a romantic manner, because that had never been done before. And it's pretty
seriously?
much that I had seen
Right.
filmed in a cinematic way where it was very obvious that they were romantically together. And this was like 2019, and there wasn't that much, a lot a lot of ballet was very kind of stuck in the past and very um you know very perfect. Things have to be perfect, and very heteronormative storylines. And you know, a lot of queer people weren't out. I mean, gay men maybe is one thing, but women, it's different. And so, anyways, I wanted to tell the story, so I did that. So then I did that. I'm trying to like
So
go
you did that.
quickly.
You made it.
I made it. Oh yes.
Okay.
I
You
crowdfunded
skipped
for it.
past that. You made a cool short film and then
I made a cool short film. I like found, it was a lot of networking. I found an artist who I was like, hey, I'll make this film if you promote it on your YouTube channel, because she has a following. And I'm like, okay, that'll, you know,
that's
help
good
amplify
producing.
it.
Yeah, that's producing. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, a lot of it was very strategic. So like doing that, and like we could film it at the YouTube space because she has like
Yeah.
a channel where we could film there. And so I found an amazing choreographer, had a New York City ballet dancer in it. And then so we filmed that, and then I kind of was at a place where I'm like, I don't I'm really exhausted from like TV, like scripted TV. Like I enjoyed it, but I was like, I'm ready for an easy job. So I did like
Yeah.
a filmmaking summer camp. I like taught kids while
Oh,
I was
that's
making
cool.
that project for a bit. And then the next job I got was post coordinating in like a really small like ad agency. And it was great. It was really easy. Like it was like very chill hours, 9 to 5. And I'm like, okay, this is cool. And that was my first experience in the agency world of like advertising. Pandemic happened, lost that job, got another job at Vice as a post coordinator, worked on that through the pandemic. That job ended, got into a program at Droga5, which is like one of the biggest ad agencies. They were named like the ad agency of the decade at Ad Age,
Wow.
whatever. So they make really beautiful cinematic ads. And it was this program to teach creatives about the art of advertising. And they took like filmmakers, people who didn't have a traditional advertising background, like filmmakers, actors, whoever, to kind of go in and pitch their ideas for like the CEO of the company, basically, CEO of Droga5. So I did that program and realized how much I loved it, of like, wow, this is really cool. Like this
Yeah.
is like I'm using the same skills that I learned in film school, but in this completely different context. I'm learning about copywriting, I'm learning about design,
Right.
like all these things that I always really enjoyed.
And they're
But like
encouraging the artistic, like cinematic feel for their ads.
definitely of like, okay, how can we make something different? How can we make something emotive? Like, how can we make something that makes you do a double take? Like, what's the process of coming up with an idea? Like, what's that brain? Like, how do you come up with ideas in a way that's like where you're not judging yourself and you're not, being hard on yourself? Like, so many of those things, they really like nurtured, and it was wonderful because I wasn't working at that. I was like wasn't working because I was just focusing on, I just ended my job, and it's like, okay, like, you know, it was during the pandemic and I was getting like unemployment, and it was pretty decent at the time. So I was
Yeah.
like, okay,
Yeah.
great. Like
What
I'll
a
just focus on
gift.
the program. I know, I
It's
feel
like
so
a
lucky.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
like a graduate film school in a way, right? A different
It
version of
was
it.
it was really lovely. Yeah. So I and met really amazing people through that. And they would pair us like, okay, they would pair different people each week of like, okay, you guys are gonna do you're gonna pitch this campaign for Dove, or like these pretend pitches of like, and then, or you're gonna pitch this for this, and you're gonna come up with a commercial, and then like activations for, in-person activate, like however you want to create this campaign, like whatever you think is cool, come up with it together. So that was really cool. And then
Wait,
after
so
that,
I saw on your website your spec commercials and like the Dove one with the
oh
alligators.
yeah,
Is that what you made in that program?
yeah.
Oh, that was beautiful. And then
Oh,
like, so
thank
you were
you.
like going through exercises like pulling stock footage and creating these. Yeah, that was, yeah, really good.
Thank you. Yeah, and I was kind of one of the only people that was really doing that, because a lot of the other people in the program didn't have a film background. So they would just
Uh,
put together like a mood board or whatever, and you could do whatever you wanted. I'm like, well, I know how to edit, so I'm just gonna like actually make the
ah,
ad.
there's
So
the editing coming back. Yep.
yeah, exactly. So that was
But it's
really
such a great
fun.
way, like making a spec commercial is a way to get into advertising. But if you don't have
Yeah.
access to the huge budgets and the cameras and all the stuff, use footage out there.
Literally, anyone can do it. I literally was just at my home in my room. Like I didn't film anything, but it looked like I did. I mean, except there
No, I
was
was going to ask you, like, how did you shoot these spec commercials? Because they're so
literally
beautiful.
did not. Thank you to whoever. It was for educational purposes, by the way.
No, but it's brilliant. But it also,
But yes.
you still had, it's your taste. You had to, I'm sure it took a long time to find the right footage and shots
Yeah.
and the way you put them together with the music and narration. It's, yeah,
Yeah. Thank you.
they're really well done.
Thank you. So I did that, and then I was like and then I just did this whole process of like rethinking my entire career path and rethinking my entire, it's like I don't want to be a post coordinator. I love post, but what I really want to be is creative. Like I want to be involved in the creative process. I don't care what it is. It could be doing something really silly and think for advertising, something that I don't care about, but I just need to be creative full time. Like this is like what I need. Like I I'm not like supporting, I want to be at the center of it. Like supporting a creative is amazing, and post scheduling, doing all that is great, but it's not the same. So I was like, I need to find a job where I can do that, and started just talking to people, getting people to look at my website, just messaging people on LinkedIn from different companies of like, hey, I just graduate, or not graduate, just finished this program. Will you look at my website? Will you give me feedback? Like, can we chat? Like, and just spent months just talking to people and applying for jobs. And yeah, spent like several months applying for jobs, and then I ended up getting the job I have now. So
Which is
that's
just
how I
like,
did it.
it's just the perfect job for you. It's
It's
exactly what you were
literally
looking
the
for.
perfect job. And I'm very lucky that it came around, because yes. So feel very fortunate.
That's incredible. Like talk to a lot of film school graduates, and it's very rare that it gets to this point like that.
Uh,
The lesson here is like, it takes a while to figure out what it is you actually want to do. You always go to film school
yeah.
thinking you want to do one thing, but you had to go through a lot of things to figure out what you want to do. But then to be able to actually find that role and get it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. I think like, yeah, you're absolutely right. Like trying things out. I think that's just the name of the game of like, try a job, see what you feel. How do you feel in that job? How do you feel with the people in that job? Like, and not every work environment is going to be a good fit for you.
Right.
And sometimes you just have to get lucky too.
That's
But
always a big part of it. But
yeah.
the spirit of and just knowing that, like, I'm going to take this PA job on the blacklist, and know that it's okay to take this job. It's not going to be the rest of my life. That's sometimes what I feel from film
Mhm.
school grads. It's like, I gotta, like, my first job, I gotta make sure it's the exact right job, and then that's the track that I'm going through. Like, no, just take a job.
No,
Just start
don't
meeting
be,
people. Start doing things.
yeah, don't be precious about it. Just like take a job, make money. I mean, if unless you don't have to worry about money, that's if you don't have to worry about money, just make things, and
Yeah.
like, but if you do have to pay rent and whatever, just pay
Yeah.
your rent, survive, focus on that,
Definitely pay your rent.
and meet people and see how you feel. And then and I think most importantly is like don't be afraid. I know it's easier said than done, but like don't don't put yourself into a place where you feel stuck somewhere. Like don't be afraid to start over and try something you've never done before and start over as a beginner doing something new because it's really scary. I mean, I was becoming really good in post as like a post production coordinator. Like I was getting so many job offers on TV shows, and it was really hard to turn them down because I was just so used to this thing. But it took a lot of like bravery to at least for me, like to like start over and really trust my gut of like, okay, no, I'm good at this. I know that it also looks cool because this is like a really cool, like a show that everyone's talking about right
Yeah.
now, and everyone and my family's really proud of me, and it looks good on paper, but like
Stability, and
it's
everyone's like, why would you
stability.
turn this down? Right.
Yeah, but like I think it's important to just not focus on like what other people are thinking and like what looks good to other people and what you can like brag about and just focus more on just like how do you feel doing it like day in and day out? Like does it fulfill you? Does it make you feel excited every day? And I know it's hard to find, but like I just wouldn't give up on trying to find that.
It's very well said. It's interesting because it connects back to when you first get to film school and you're doing things to please your classmates. Like that
Mm.
doesn't go away. You start a
Yes.
career and then you start making life decisions based on, oh, but people say this is, this is the right decision and I got to keep my parents happy. And yeah,
Mm.
it's weird how that's always part of our decision making, right?
So true, so true. Yeah. I think it applies to anybody too, no matter if you're a filmmaker or just growing up, being an adult of like
Yeah.
just do what makes you happy, pretty much.
Well, you've been very generous with your time. Let's just end with this. Like, someone asks you, should I go to film school? Is it worth it? Is it worth all the debt? What do you say?
I would say how much do you love it? Like how much is it something that you feel like you need to do? Like is it something that makes like drives you? Like is it your passion? Because not everyone has a passion. Like I would say like if you're not sure about it and you're just kind of exploring it and it's sort of like like let's see, I'm not sure if I'm gonna like it, I would probably say no, just because it's it's a lot of work and there's not a guarantee that you're gonna get a job or like that you're gonna get a good job after it or it's gonna be lucrative for you. So if you're not sure and you just want to dabble in it for fun, like I would probably do something else. Maybe if you don't know what you want to do, maybe do something like business or something more general and then just play around with filmmaking on the side. Plenty of people do that. Like social media, people are becoming like famous. I mean, the Samsung video is like a perfect example. Like, well, I don't know if I'm not sure if they went to film. Oh, maybe they studied film. But besides the point, they're making content online and that doesn't require a film degree. So
Right.
you can make content. You don't need a film degree to do
Yeah.
that.
But
So,
there's a
yeah.
nice lesson in what you just said of like the passion part, and I always feel
Mhm.
like filmmaking is like, if you don't love the process, if you wouldn't be doing it for free, then don't commit, to going to film school and studying this. And
Yeah.
you're not going to be happy when you leave and go into the business. Don't pursue it for the wrong reasons. Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
Well, you are proof that there is life after film school. And I feel like you've lived many lives after your film school. And, when you find yourself in LA again, like, let's meet up and grab coffee because I want to hear some Blacklist stories off the record.
Oh yeah. Off the record. Lots of
It was a pleasure meeting you. And also, like, don't be shy to reach out. Like, I work in the alumni office at AFI. If you ever need to connect with local crew, and like,
yeah.
our cinematographers are the freaking best in the business. So
Amazing. 1,000%.
hit
We'll
me
do
up.
that.
This was fun. Thanks, Victoria.
Super fun. Thank you so much.
All right. Take care. Have a good night.
Take care. Bye.